We've just learned that there have now been 3 outages at Newark Liberty International Airport in recent weeks. The latest came overnight and caused a 45-minute ground stop. At this point, the FAA says that third episode was an equipment outage. We'll update you as we learn more. Now, Newark is a major hub for United Airlines. We spoke Saturday before this latest incident with the airline's CEO Scott Kirby and asked him, is it safe to be flying in and out of Newark right now?
It absolutely is safe at Newark and in the entire country. And the reason is, when these kind of outages happen, we train for them, we have backup procedures, we have backups to backups to backups to keep the sky safe, which is always the #1 priority. And in situations like this, when the radar outage happened at Newark, what happens is the pilots look for alternative frequencies, they go to alternative centers with alternative radars, and they also have a system in the airplane where they can see, it's equivalent of radar, they can see their position in the air, in the sky, and all the other aircraft around them. But what we do is slow the whole system down, which is disruptive to customers, but it's entirely safe.
Newark is your biggest global gateway on the East Coast. Given the problems there and the need, as you've described them, to slow things down, what other adjustments are you making to operations, and especially with the travel season picking up into the summer, how is that potentially affecting the schedule?
Well, at United, our #1 priority is safety, but #2 is our customers. And in this case, what we've done is we've proactively reduced flights out of the schedule. The FAA is working with other airlines to do the same so that we can have the number of flights scheduled at the airport that the airport can accommodate. Pruning the number of flights just creates more space at the airport, allows the airport to operate effectively. There's also runway construction going on that'll be over June 15th. That's going to double the capacity of the airport when that happens.
Well, if you're pruning the schedule, then that means less supply with increasing demand going into the summer. Doesn't that potentially mean the cost of a ticket's going to go up?
My guess is if you look at the ticket prices flying out of Newark right now, that in fact is not what is happening. There's less demand because there's concerns about safety. And so what we've also done is put bigger airplanes on the route. So put a larger airplane, have fewer flights, but with bigger airplanes to maintain the number of seats that we have flying in and out of Newark. And air travel remains a pretty strong bargain across the country and around the globe, and demand is strong, and we look forward to carrying several 100,000 customers a day every day this summer.
There's the cost potentially to the customer. How about the financial impact on United?
Well, there will be a financial impact on United, but our #1 priority is safety. We aren't even thinking or talking about that.
Well, and there is the broader issue of a bigger picture of air travel, and you just acknowledged that demand is down in part because people are concerned about safety with all the issues that have happened so far this year. But you've also got economic turmoil prompted by tariffs. There's lingering concerns about inflation. And you've said you can't predict how customers are going to be spending their money going forward. So, I mean, what is the potential negative impact on the travel industry through the rest of the year?
You know, the travel industry and United Airlines in particular, demand has been resilient. We saw a hit to demand beginning in February. Demand declined from what we were expecting it to be, but it stabilized into March and April, and actually has gotten a little bit better in May. And so, everything I can see, we're a pretty good real-time indicator of the economy at United Airlines, and everything I can see is the consumer is cautious, but still in pretty good shape.
You talk about this world-class air traffic control system we have. You can control the aircraft. You can control the quality of the pilot you put on that aircraft to fly it. You can control the schedule, but you do not control who's in the tower and how many people are in the tower. So you say it's a world-class air traffic control system. How can you assure passengers of that, given all the issues we've seen, especially this year, with the FAA?
Well, we need to upgrade the system to actually make it world-class. But the air traffic controllers are the best in the world, incredible professionals, and they keep the sky safe. And what happens when they're short-staffed or there's a technology issue, they slow the airspace down. Essentially what they do is put more miles between airplanes. That gives them the ability to manage and handle it. It leads to customer impacts. We have to delay or cancel flights because there are more flights scheduled than can arrive, but it keeps the system safe, and that's absolutely what they should do.
You've done a very good job of laying out how concerned and how focused you guys are on safety, but there are still people out there who are genuinely just afraid to fly, especially given the incident here in Washington, the plane that flipped over on a runway up in Toronto, all the near misses or the clipped wings. What do you say to that person who thinks, okay, you say things are safe, but I see all these other issues going on. Why should I get on an airplane?
You know, I understand where they're coming from. I read the same headlines that they do, but it's the safest industry by far in the world. It's the safest way to travel by far. The United States is the leader in safety of everyone around the globe, and I know that. I'm in it, and I know it. I understand how people feel and empathize with that, but I know that it's safe because I've spent my whole career in it. I know all the people in aviation, whether they work at United Airlines, other airlines, at the FAA. Safety is number one, and it is in the core DNA of everyone.
We have seen reports in recent days, speaking of the FAA, that they're going to get together with you and other airlines that fly into Newark to talk about voluntarily having you reduce the number of flights that go into that airport as this gets sorted out. Is that indeed the plan? And do you expect your competitor airlines to go along with it?
That is the plan. We've already started that process at United as the largest airline there. I do think everyone will do it. The Secretary of Transportation deserves immense credit, and the FAA for doing it. It's not an easy step to take, but it is the right step for customers. And again, if they didn't do that, the margin of safety would be the same, but the airport would just have more delays and cancellations and issues for customers. But because they're doing that, we're already back to operating a reliable airline for all airlines at Newark, and this will just ensure that we do it and get through the summer and have time to make sure that we get back to full capacity.
We've seen the Transportation Secretary in recent days call for tens of billions of dollars to be spent at least over the next 3 to 4 years to begin that equipment upgrade and retraining of air traffic controllers. He can't put a number on it. The House at least has put about $12.5 billion to start. But everyone seems to acknowledge it's going to be a lot more than that. Is that sufficient? And don't you need help now as opposed to 3 to 4 years from now?
Well, I think this is the most optimistic I've been in my entire career about finally getting the FAA fixed. I mean, I and others in the aviation industry have been working on this for decades, and I think we've turned the corner, and we have the commitment. It's bipartisan, it's bicameral, it's in Senate, House, administration, Secretary Duffy, across the board, a commitment to getting this fixed. We know how to do it. We just need the will to actually follow through and get it done.
What makes you more optimistic that it's going to get done now? This has been something they've been talking about since the Bush administration at the beginning of the century.
Yeah.
And they haven't been able to get it done.
Yeah.
And every few years, someone comes up with a plan, and you guys and everyone in Congress go, oh, it's great, it's bipartisan, it's got everything we need, and it goes nowhere. So why on earth is it more likely to happen this time?
There's two things that make it different today than in the past. One, they've asked for all of the funding up front. In the past, it's always been a year at a time. And when you do things a year at a time, especially in government, like it just stops and starts and stops and starts. You can't do these big projects. Like no company would try to do big projects a year at a time. And so this time they're going to ask for all the money up front, which lets you plan the entire project and get the entire project done. And the second thing is people. We have a secretary who's action-oriented, who's committed to getting this done, and an FAA administrator that hopefully will get approved soon. Now,
they say they're going to give the money up front for this project, but at the same time, they're talking about cuts to the Transportation Department and other cuts to the FAA as part of the DOGE project. Do you have any insights into how those potential cuts could affect operations of the FAA?
I think Secretary Duffy probably is the leading gold star for how to manage through the DOGE process, which is they called it caution tape around all the safety, controller, all the critical functions. And DOGE went and looked, and I think they took 400 jobs out of over 100,000 jobs, back office kinds of jobs. I think they've done a very effective job of protecting that core safety, operational workforce. One of the big challenges is the controller workforce is about 30% short, and getting back to full staffing in the controller workforce is something that Secretary Duffy and the entire FAA are committed to doing.
But, okay, so you're telling us then the Secretary has assured you there will be DOGE cuts, of course, but none of them will affect safety at the FAA or anything safety related at DOT.
He has absolutely assured me of that. And it's not just the secretary. The people at the working level at the FAA have told our teams that as well. It's really across the board. And this goes to the whole safety point for aviation. It's so in the DNA of everyone that's affiliated with it that nobody would ever even think to compromise on safety. And that's not happening on a day-to-day basis at Newark. It's not happening anywhere in the airspace, and it's not going to happen with any kind of cuts that happen at the DOT or the FAA.
You can see our full interview with Scott Kirby on our website, facethenation.com, and our YouTube page.